TacSys framework has now gone live, so let's take a look at what it is, what it covers, and what potential suppliers should know. So TacSys stands for Tactical Communication Systems, and the framework is all about buying the tech that keeps people connected in tough environments. So whether this is one you've been keeping an eye on, or if it's all brand new, I'm going to break it down to help it make sense. And by the end of this video, you should know what TacSys is, the kind of tech it covers, how the framework is structured, how the buyer will select their suppliers, and some key dates. So first of all, a quick reminder on what a framework is. You've got to think of a framework as a short list of pre-approved suppliers. Once you're on it, you're allowed to bid for work that comes up under that framework. Being on the list doesn't guarantee you'll win any contracts, but it does mean you can be invited to take part in mini competitions for projects that fit your services. So TacSys is basically the government's way of buying tactical communication systems. So you're talking radios, networks, software, infrastructure, and anything else that allows people to communicate and share information in really tough environments. It's being run by Crown Commercial Service, which is basically the procurement department for the public sector. And while the Ministry of Defence is the main user, it's actually a pan-government framework, which means it won't just be the Ministry of Defence, but other public sector users like the Blue Light or emergency services can use it too. So what are some of the key facts of this framework? The framework could run up to 8 years, and it will reopen every 2 years so that new suppliers can join, or for current suppliers to update their information. Its estimated value is up to £8 billion over the full term. And it's open to large companies, SMEs, as in small to medium enterprises, and even the smaller niche specialists. If you're finding this video useful, hit like and subscribe to support the channel and keep more videos like this coming your way. So what kind of tech are they actually looking for? So at a high level, TacSys is about secure, deployable mobile communications. Now that all sounds great, and if you're in the business, I'm sure you know what it means. But I'm going to translate it anyway because that's what I do. This isn't kit that only works nicely on a UK base with good power and Wi-Fi. You need to think of things like a temporary command post set up overseas, equipment unpacked from a vehicle and switched on in the middle of nowhere. Systems that don't rely on fixed buildings or permanent infrastructure. And if it only works when everything's perfect, it's probably not the right fit. The same information needs to move between headquarters on land, vehicles out in the field, aircraft overhead, and vessels offshore. So imagine a vehicle commander is sharing updates with headquarters, a helicopter crew is feeding live information back to the ground teams. Different units all seeing the same picture at the same time. The tech needs to work across all of those environments, not just one. This is about protecting information, not just sending it. You're talking maps, plans, or live updates that shouldn't be intercepted. Voice comms that can be listened in on, data that stays protected even if the equipment is lost or damaged. In short, it needs to keep the wrong people out. These systems are expected to work when signals are weak or disrupted. There's interference or jamming, power is limited, conditions are noisy, wet, hot or chaotic. Here we are talking about a system that automatically switches routes if one connection drops, or communications that don't fall over because one part fails. It's all about reliability under pressure. The tech shouldn't get in the way of the job at hand, and that means equipment that can be carried without being a burden, systems that work while people are moving, and controls that are simple and quick to use. If it's clunky, heavy, or it needs constant fiddling, it's not going to help. So where might this tech actually be used? Now this kind of kit could be used in a fixed or temporary headquarters, inside vehicles, by personnel on foot, or aircraft or ships, but importantly it all needs to work together. So for instance, information from a person on the ground can be seen by headquarters. Data from one service can be shared with another, and UK systems can connect with allies and other partner nations. So in short, if your tech helps people communicate, stay connected, share information securely, and can keep going in tough, and I mean really tough environments, then there's a good chance it fits within TacSys. And it doesn't have to be the whole system. Individual tools, components, or specialist tech all have a place too. TacSys is split into 3 lots. Lot 1 is services, Lot 2 systems, and Lot 3 is the components. So let's take a closer look at each one. Lot 1, services. Now this lot is all about the support and the behind the scenes work that keeps tactical communication systems working properly from day one to the end of its life. It covers 3 broad areas: building it, keeping it running, and making sure it's safe and fit for purpose. So in simple terms, this can include things like helping design how a system should work in the first place, designing and connecting all the different bits of tech so they work together, building and installing equipment, whether that's small batches or larger production runs, rolling systems out into the field and helping people get set up, providing ongoing support, fixes and repairs when things go wrong, managing updates, replacements and aging equipment, and making sure systems stay safe, secure and compliant throughout their life. So if you imagine the system as a car, Lot 1 is the team that designs it, builds it, checks it's safe, shows you how to use it, and then services and supports it for years afterwards. This lot is less about selling a single piece of kit and more about making sure everything actually works and keeps working. Lot 2, systems. So Lot 2 covers complete, ready-to-use communication systems, or large parts of a system that already work together. It's about providing a full solution for a specific group of users, often with support included, to keep things running once it's in use. So in simple terms, this includes complete sets of equipment and software designed for a particular user group, major building blocks that form a significant part of a wider system, pre-integrated packages where the components are already connected and tested, systems designed for mounted use, such as inside vehicles, systems designed for dismounted use, as in carried and used by people on foot. So instead of buying lots of separate components and hoping they fit together, buyers can choose systems that are already designed, connected and tested and come with a support model built in. Depending on the need, that might mean procuring a complete system in one go or a substantial ready-made section that can slot straight into a wider solution. Lot 3, components. So Lot 3 focuses on the individual pieces that make up the communication systems. Now this is about specific hardware or software products that can do one particular job and can then be combined with other components to form a bigger system. This includes things like apps and software that users interact with directly, tools used for training, planning or preparation, hardware such as servers, rugged devices, displays or power units, and equipment that moves data, voice and information around, or cyber and security tools to protect systems and information, and tools that help monitor, manage and control systems once they're live. To help buyers and suppliers navigate all this, products are grouped using capability tags. Now these are just broad labels that describe what role a product plays, such as user-facing applications, core software and training tools, infrastructure and platforms, information and data services, security-related tools, system and service management, and enabling tools used to design, build or support systems. The important thing to understand with Lot 3 is that it's granular and flexible. Suppliers can target exactly where their product fits and buyers can select just the components that they need. So while Lot 2 is about complete systems, Lot 3 is about the building blocks, the individual pieces that can be mixed, matched and brought together to create a full solution. How the framework will work. All contracts awarded under this framework will be via some form of competition. So that means buyers cannot directly award work and they must run a competitive process. What changes is how suppliers are brought into that competition, and that depends on the lot. So for lots 1 and 2, the process is straightforward. Buyers can invite all relevant suppliers on the lot to compete for the work, and they can choose different ways to run the competition, and they have a number of options to do that. Catalogue enabled further competition, single stage competition, 2-stage competition and multi-stage competition. Let's take a quick look at each of these in some more detail. Catalogue enabled further competition. So this is the quickest and lightest option. From the buyer's side, they already know roughly what they want and they're working from the framework catalogue. They'll ask suppliers to update or confirm their catalogue details, usually things like pricing or how the service will be delivered. From your side as a supplier, you're not writing a big response. You're just checking your catalogue entry, making any updates needed and confirming whether you want to be considered. If you don't respond, you're simply not included. Single stage competition. Now this is the most straightforward one. The buyer sets out exactly what they need and invites all eligible suppliers at the same time. Everyone submits their response, the buyer reviews them and then makes a decision. From a supplier point of view, this means one clear deadline and one submission, and it's one that has to allow enough time and take into account how complex the contract is and how long tenderers need to prepare their submissions. There's no shortlisting and no second round. You put your best response in first time. Two-stage competition. Now this is where the buyer wants to narrow things down before asking for full responses. In stage 1, the buyer is checking who is genuinely suitable for the work. Suppliers answer a small set of questions so the buyer can create a shortlist. And in stage 2, only those shortlisted suppliers are invited to submit a full tender response. So from your side, the first stage is about getting through the door. And if you do, the second stage is where the competition happens. Multi-stage competition. Now this is usually for more complex or higher value work. Instead of a single submission, the buyer builds a process with several steps from options that they have available to them. And they might include written responses, presentations, demonstrations, site visits, discussions or negotiations. Suppliers may be reduced at each stage, and there's always a final submission at the end before the buyer makes their decision. From your perspective, this isn't a one and done exercise. It's about staying engaged over time and responding to each stage as it comes. So the key thing to remember is this: the buyer chooses the process based on how simple or complex the requirement is, and that choice directly affects what's expected from you. Catalogue enabled means light touch, single stage means one full response, two-stage means shortlist and then you compete, and multi-stage means several steps before the final decision. So Lot 3 works slightly differently. At framework award stage, suppliers are mapped against a capability matrix. And when a buyer has a requirement, they use this matrix to identify the suppliers who can deliver that specific capability or capabilities that they need. Once that shortlist is created, the buyer then chooses the competitive process just as they would for the other lots. So the key takeaway is lots 1 and 2 go straight to competition, and lot 3 involves a shortlist first via a capability matrix and then goes to competition. All lots require a competition and do not allow direct award. Supplier fees. If you win work, you'll have to pay up to 1% of what you invoice before VAT in supplier fees. And this is basically an admin or management fee for running the framework. Key dates. From the point the tender was issued on the 9th of January to the submission deadline at 3 p.m. on the 12th of February, there's just under a 5-week turnaround on this one, which isn't a lot of time. And in that time, you've got 71 documents to download and work through, plus a 3-week clarification window that closes at 3 p.m. on the 28th of January. Now, to put that into perspective, one very recent framework received nearly 2,000 clarification questions over a 7-week period. And that gives you a good sense of how quickly the workload can grow once the clarifications start coming in. Although questions must be submitted by that date, CCS will continue answering them afterwards, which means some important questions may land quite late. And that often leads to last-minute check-in, tweaking and adjusting before you hit submit. Now, if this framework is relevant to your business, starting early really will matter. The TacSys framework is a major opportunity for suppliers working in tactical communications, secure systems and defence technology, but there's a lot to get through and not much time to do it in. Getting organised from the outset and bringing in early input from someone experienced in defence bids can save time, reduce stress and help you focus on what really matters. So there you have it. The tender's live, there's a lot to get through and it's definitely not one to leave until the last minute. So if you're considering support to help you focus on what matters or to get moving quickly, I'd get in touch via thetendercoach.com now. Early support from someone experienced in defence bids can really help you move faster and avoid unnecessary work.